Okay, so chapter 4, week 5, right? I am so happy to be talking to you all today. I'm happy for a couple reasons. One is, I'm a new police chief, and so I've been bringing my officers over to our house to have dinner with my family. And my wife is vegan, so when I am home, I eat vegan. And so when the officers come, we don't have to be vegan that week. So I am thrilled because one of the officers just left. I have this great chocolate cherry cake. We had meat tonight, and so life is good for me. But the real reason I'm excited today is because just Friday we received these awesome pieces of technology called the Taser Axon Body Cam. One of the first agencies to get them, and so I'm excited to share that technology with you. What I am going to do is I'm going to post a second video this week, okay? This is your primary chapter 4 video. And this is what you're going to be quizzed over. This is a very important piece to your video concept. However, what I'm also going to do is I'm going to post a taser video on YouTube, just as I have in the past for everything else. And it's going to be a taser video discussing the Axon body camera. And so the advantage to you in this case is that I am going to give you a quiz on the Taser Axon body camera. And I'm going to allow you to post discussion postings on YouTube. There won't be a discussion board on our side. I want to have you guys join with my other class that I'm teaching. I'm going to have you post a discussion board postings on YouTube. Because I want you to kind of get some experience using that technology, that kind of thing. So here's what I'm going to do. This is very easy. If you post one discussion board posting or one posting on YouTube about the video and talk about the Taser Cam video, the Taser Axon body video, I'm going to give you 5 bonus points that can make up for you missing a discussion board. So during this semester, you just miss a discussion board for a week. This will give you 5 bonus points so you can make up for that. Secondly, I'm going to post a quiz on the Taser Axon body camera, and that's going to give you 5 bonus points so you can make up for missing a quiz. So these are purely bonus points. You don't have to do it. I would strongly recommend that you do it. It's a very easy way to pick up an extra 10 points in this class and kind of solidify yourself in that A grade point average. Because you should be walking out of this class with an A if you put effort into it. So anyway, so with that said, let's talk about networking for a minute. So your book says that networking is about the exchange of information by electronic means. So the exchange of information by electronic means is kind of a broad general definition of networking. So why network? Why do we need to worry about that in law enforcement? I say, listen, I'm a 15-man police agency. We've got, let's say I have 5 computers. Why do I need to network that information together? Well, let's talk about what we do as a law enforcement agency. While we may be a 15-man police agency, our tech says there are 17,000 state and local law enforcement agencies in the nation. 17,000. Do I want to know what's going on in a city that is literally half a mile from me? You better believe I want to know what's going on there. Do I want to know vehicle information about someone when I run someone's driver's license? Do I want to know information about that driver, when the last time they got a ticket was, if they have an arrest warrant out for them? You better believe I want to know that information. So both those types of information involve networking. Now, maybe it's not a network that you see in your office. There's not a line running to a central hub and dispersing information within your office. What's happening is that line's running to the internet. The internet's taking it out to whatever state agency it is, and the agency's kicking it back. So let me tell you about Ohio's networking of report writing. So in Ohio, the state government came out and said, you know what? Anyone should be able to tap into any information about what's going on in another agency as far as criminal activity with a specific individual. So they came out with a statewide report writing software. It's called OLEG. So now I will tell you, my agency here in South Carolina just purchased report writing software for a small agency like ours. $50,000 for report writing software. $5,000 to $10,000 a year of maintenance fee upkeeps. Man, that hurts. State of Ohio said, no. We're going to invest the multi-million-dollar investment so that everyone can use the same report writing software if they want to, and they can all tie into the same database of information. And that's huge. So when I'm writing a report on Bob, who has committed a copper theft, I can pull up and see if other agencies have been working with Bob or investigating Bob on copper thefts. And so maybe Bob's not been convicted of it, so it's not on his criminal history. But if they have listed him as a suspect, I can look at that and see what's going on. Maybe Bob, maybe I arrested Bob for domestic abuse, a domestic violence case. And he doesn't have any previous criminal domestic violence charges. I can look at what other agencies have dealt with him on. And maybe there's a pattern, and maybe there's stuff that I need to know about as I'm doing this investigation. So that's a network. We use a network for that. That system is networked out to all these different agencies all across Ohio, so we can all tap into that information. BMV, Bureau of Motor Vehicle, whatever you call it, DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, whatever your state calls it, I don't want to have to call the license plate bureau to run a license plate. I think we've all taken a number and stood in line long enough to understand we don't want to have to do that. So what do? Our computers tie into their computers. We're networking with their computers to pull out that information. So that's why networking is important. License plate checks, B&B information, all that stuff. So here's a question for you. What is in this chapter? What is a medium? Well, really, let me read you the definition. When we refer to a medium, we mean how a signal, analog or digital, is carried from point to point. And here's the important thing to understand. My median, when I send it out of my computer to get from point A to point B, is not going to be as strong as it was when it initially left my point. Okay? When it leaves my computer, that median, it's almost like fighting this uphill electronic battle. It gets through here, it gets through here, it gets through here, and it's going all over the place. So it's not as strong of a signal when it leaves my computer, or leaves my point, as when it gets to the point that it's headed to. Let's see. I wanted to talk to you in this chapter about, a hub. We hear the word hub used a lot. Think about, and the book uses a great example. Think about an airline. So when there used to be this airline company that flew you for $20 or something, right? And so they had a hub in Columbus, Ohio. So you had to buy a ticket from wherever you were going to Columbus, because that was their hub. And you kind of all got there in that hub, and you moved over to the flight dispersed out to the other airlines. So, and airlines do this all the time. They have a central hub where all the flights meet up at. But they only have one or two airplanes at these other locations. So you get in this plane. If I'm going to Laredo, Texas, maybe from South Carolina, I may actually end up flying from South Carolina to Columbus, because that's where the hub is, and then hopping on a flight from Columbus to Laredo. That's where the hub is. So the same concept is there for computers. So we've got all these points of information, and they're all going to a centralized hub that will take that information, disperse it out to where it needs to go. So that's something to remember about a hub. Bandwidth. So bandwidth is an important piece. It's becoming very, very important for us in law enforcement because of IP-based cameras. What's an IP-based camera? A camera that is no longer going over what we call a coaxial cable line. So we used to have to run these cameras, run a specific coaxial line for a camera that would run into the DVR, the recording system. Well, now IP cameras run through the internet lines, through the Ethernet lines. In fact, sometimes they even run wirelessly, right? And so that's great. That's a great advantage because we're already running all these internet lines. So we just tap into an internet line anywhere and plug our camera in, and we're good to go. I've got cameras I can take anywhere on campus, plug it into an IP or plug it into an Ethernet cable port, and my camera works. So that's great. What's the problem with that? All that information that camera's taking is sucking up bandwidth. Okay, so if you can think about bandwidth as the water going through a water hose, okay, um, and when you start tapping into that water hose here, 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 and here, the end result of that water coming out is not going to be as strong as if you didn't have all those tap-ins, right? So that's kind of like bandwidth. You're just tapping into it. So at our college, we've got, I want to say, let's say 150 cameras around campus. And we're talking about, switching all those cameras over to IP. So my first question was, hey, do we have the bandwidth? And everyone was like, oh, yeah, bandwidth. Don't worry about it. We got a lot of bandwidth here. Well, the camera guy comes in and says, guess what? No way you have the bandwidth to handle that. So what we're doing is we're setting up little, almost like hubs where the data comes into it, it collects it and stores it, and it doesn't send it all out over the bandwidth. It collects that information from that camera, puts it in a package, and then all at once sends that information. So you only have that hose clog up for a second because it's sending out that huge chunk of information instead of the continual tapping in of that hose. So bandwidth is an important thing to understand and know about because it's becoming really prevalent to us in law enforcement. I thought on page 87 where he started, where the author started to talk about backing up data and started to use the word zip drive. It really dates the book and lets you know that maybe we need to update our book a little bit because I haven't seen a zip drive used for a long time. So what is a zip drive? A zip drive was like, you remember the 3.5 floppy drives? It was kind of like that, but it was like a floppy drive on crack, man. It's pretty big. It looks kind of like a tape, and you could put it in. It's real thick, and you could put it in there. Man, it would store just tons and tons of information. And so that's how agencies used to do their backup, right? So they put these zip drives that my dad used to use. I remember him bringing home zip drives and put them in the fire safe. He'd do once a week or whatever. He'd do a backup of a zip drive of all of his computers in his office. We'd bring that home, put it in a fireproof safe, and that would give you an immediate restore if you had a failure. What are we using now? The cloud, man. My agency uses Dropbox, or a version of it that's a little bit more secure, and so that's what we're backing our information up to now. So, I don't really see zip drives used that often, but hey, maybe you get to an agency that uses it. I'd recommend trying to upload to the cloud though. The last thing I'll talk to you about, just real quick, is firewall. Just something to remember when you hear the word firewall. What are we talking about? We're talking about a level of protection that tries to keep internet hackers out, man. So you set that to how you want it. How high do you want your firewall? How fortified do you want your firewall? The thicker you make it, the harder you make it to get in. It's also going to be harder to get stuff out. It's going to be harder to download stuff because your firewall is blocking that. So that's something to think about with your firewall is that you got to balance security with firewall. I know some agencies that they have a whole set of computers that never touch a network. They don't want any that's such classified information. They're never going to touch a network. It's really where do you need your level of security at? So I made this kind of short, only 13, 14 minutes. So that you can also watch the taser video, get those extra points, man. I'm excited to show you this taser video. So check it out and have a great week. Chapter 4, networking. Enjoy the quiz. Email if you got any questions. Talk to you later.